Hello and welcome to your Astro Tarot forecast for the week of May 12th through the 18th. My name is Michelle Shea Walker, and this is your glass half full perspective on the week ahead. If you're a paid subscriber on Substack, or if you tipped your reader in the links below last week, stick around to the end to see if you won the personal reading drawing. So we're going to start by taking a deep breath, and my black cat meowing in the background feels like a very premonition-based energy for this week's reading. It's not that there's a lot of bad energy happening in the week ahead, but there's a lot of energy happening in the week ahead. And it's energy that takes a lot of our energy to process, to integrate, and to get through. We'll get into the exact wherewithal on our day-to-day forecast, but just know that we're going to be conquering a lot of our limiting beliefs. We're going to be processing some things that are no longer serving us. And honestly, I want to make sure that we're taking breaks because it's going to be, again, just a lot of energy being flowing through us, around us, within us, and out of us. And I want to start that with sort of a collecting of the energy here at the start of this forecast. So before we get into the day-by-day forecast of the astrology and the tarot cards, and before we get to the end where I do a personalized reading drawing, we're going to start with a little mini meditation. And I do this sometimes at the beginning of my yoga classes just to help everyone collect their energy. So I want you to start by sitting up nice and tall and close your eyes and start to just deepen your breath. Let the breath move down into the lower parts of your abdomen and slowly expand up into your chest. And exhale all the stale air to the point that your abdomen starts to contract in to really get all the air out. A couple more like that. Take a deep breath in, belly up to the chest. Exhale out all the air. And once more, deep breath in, pit of the belly up to the chest. And exhale out all the stale air. Now, with your eyes still closed, if you're a visual person, I want you to imagine that throughout the week, the month, the year, maybe even your entire lifetime, all of your interactions have been as if you were interacting with people as a puzzle. And every interaction, someone took a little piece of your puzzle. And now, in this moment, we're going to call back all of those pieces to create more wholeness and integration. So I want you to just imagine that anything that you dropped off in any interactions, anyone that you feel like holds pieces of yourselves from throughout your lifetime, it's gently retrieving those puzzle pieces. And you can just picture all of those pieces slipping back into place in your being. And if you're not a visual person, just imagine the sensation of becoming more whole, of something kind of coming back into your aura, into your body. Allow that to help you grow a little bit taller, a little more stabilized in your seat. And allow it to let go of anything that's not yours. So any puzzle pieces that don't fit in your being, that belong to someone else, let those drop away. And because we can sometimes find that things go out into the world and get a little muddled by outside energy, we're going to then take our completed puzzle and imagine a UV light, a shower, whatever cleansing method that you want to think to yourself, just scanning your body, cleansing those puzzle pieces, resetting it back to sort of factory settings, to your own energy and not anything that's been picked up along the way. I don't know if you can hear the cat in the background, but man, those black cats can feel that Scorpio moon energy coming in. So as we find that cleansing effect, I want you to now protect your puzzle. Almost like you completed a really, really hard puzzle and you now want to frame it and put it behind glass so that it doesn't come out of its alignment, come out of its completion. Imagine your own personal puzzle behind a protective plane of plexiglass or whatever you want to imagine, just enveloping your entire aura. And with that, we got a little silence from the cat. So that's a good sign. And then gently blink your eyes open. And now that we're all feeling a little more contained and back in our own energy, we're going to dive into what this week has in store for us, because we're going to want all of our pieces with us as we start to heal, integrate, and transform over the week ahead. So we'll start with Monday's astrology. And Monday is my favorite part of the week because it's the Scorpio full moon. If you don't have a lot of water in your chart, water moons might feel a little uncomfortable if you're not used to kind of swimming in your emotions. Just be prepared to be possibly hit with a wave of emotions or some things that you will need to process. If you're like me and you have a lot of water in your chart, you're really comfortable with a good cry, it's going to be a pretty easy transition into the Scorpio full moon. Scorpio is really elements of the unseen, the shadow side. There's some astrologers online that are saying that this is just going to be just a really dark and like shadowy moon. I don't want that energy to scare you. First of all, we shouldn't be scared of our shadows. The shadow part of ourself is not something that's dark or bad. It's actually the exact opposite. It's stuff that we need to transform our thinking that it is bad into integrating into ourselves as a part of that completed puzzle and accepting it for what it is. So shadow self just means that you've denied or hidden away something that someone somewhere taught you was bad, or that was not a part of who you should be. And we're just reintegrating those puzzle pieces and bringing them into the light to be fully shown as a part of our entire being and our entire completed puzzle. So that's what we're working with on Monday. Specifically, the Scorpio full moon happens at 11:55 a.m. Central Standard Time in America. So feel free to translate that however you need to. And then a few minutes or like half an hour after that, we have a Mercury square Pluto. So Pluto is very relative to Scorpio energy. Pluto rules Scorpio. And so there's this element of sort of the unseen and the shadows coming forward in both aspects of the astrology on Monday. The Scorpio full moon is shining a light on stuff. Mercury square Pluto is kind of telling us that it may not be the best time to communicate stuff about your shadow side to the outside world, because Mercury rules our communication. Pluto is that shadow element. So we're kind of having this square happen where it gets a little harder to communicate those things and to be accepted for the way that you want to be accepted whenever you are presenting these elements of yourself that you've hidden away. So allow Monday to be about you integrating these shadow elements. Now, what is a shadow element? A shadow element could be something, a dream that you had that the outside world, your teachers, your parents, whoever said wasn't practical. And so you hid it away, you put it in the closet and you forgot about it. It could be that you have a gender role that as a child you got really drawn into a certain hobby or what have you, that the world was like, oh no, that's not for your assigned gender. And I think as a whole, we're getting more accepting of that fluid energy between the different polar opposites of any elements. And there's still stuff that we're exploring within ourselves that we may not realize we haven't integrated. So it's just stuff that you have been taught at somewhere along the way to feel ashamed about or feel like it wasn't important. And you'll know within your heart of hearts when it is important, because when you start thinking about it, you'll get that wistful nostalgia or a longing for those things. A really great way to tell our shadow aspects and things that we need to integrate are within our romantic partnerships. Because whether you're in a partnership now or you've ever been in a partnership before, usually we're attracted to some qualities in our partners that are part of our shadow self, part of the things that we've denied ourselves from being, because then we're trying to seek those elements in the outside world. So it's definitely shows up in, mixed gender couples where, like, if a female has been told that she can't be handy with tools or be strong and be, more masculine elements, she'll seek that out in a masculine partner that can do those things for her and embody those things for her. And then we think of that partnership as like completing us, which is incredibly unhealthy. And we're not going to go on that whole codependent tangent. But ultimately, the healthy way to manage and field your attraction to someone is to ask yourself, okay, what is it that is so attractive about this person to me? Like, why do I feel like I want them near me? I want them close to me. I want them in my life. And then integrate some of those things within yourself and within your own lifestyle. And that doesn't mean, I mean, sometimes it means that you can let that person go. If they weren't healthy or weren't the right person, you can then be like, okay, well, now I don't have as big a crush on this person because all the things that I thought they were going to bring into my life, I already have brought into my life myself. But if you do end up in a partnership with this person, if you've started to integrate the stuff that you're admiring in them, that's your denied self, that you're trying to integrate them into your life to complete you, and you've started to complete yourself, you let them off the hook for a lot of things in the relationship. And it means that you both can be individuals within the relationship and you're no longer relying on them to show up for you in a certain way so that you can feel complete. So that's what we're dealing with on Monday, which is why I said we need to make sure that we feel whole, we feel grounded, we feel nourished, we feel ready to conquer what's coming in, because we really are doing some really important integration and self-love in the entirety of this week, but especially on Monday with the Scorpio full moon. Scorpio is also really known to be connected to sort of like magic and witchcraft and the unseen and the occult. So if you have any practices like that that you enjoy embodying or putting in your rituals, like it's a really good time to charge your crystals. It's a really good time to do the, spell work or whatever you feel called to do. And it could be just as simple as like opening up a window to let the full moon light shine in and kind of just letting yourself moonbathe for a while. It doesn't have to be something complex, but if you do have rituals like that you enjoy, I find that the Scorpio full moon especially is powerful for those things. So as we're moving from, actually, let's get to the card. So Monday's card also mirrors this watery energy because we have the Queen of Cups. So very intuitive energy. It's a really good day to, again, do those magical practices. Maybe it's just meditation, but let yourself do the things that helps you tap into your unconscious, your psychic abilities, your intuition, because they might be at a higher level on Monday. And the full moon energy is always kind of like 24 hours before, 24 hours after. So you might be feeling that a little bit on Sunday and a little bit on Tuesday as well. So don't feel like you have to be like exact on the time of the full moon. But keep track of your dreams. Do some free writing. Do whatever you need to do. Maybe if you work with tarot cards or if you work with some sort of divination, you work with that on Monday because the Scorpio full moon is in support of that energy. So as we move into Tuesday from that Scorpio full moon, which I don't want to like move on too quickly because that is a really important energy for the entire week. So please take Monday seriously and do what you need to find that self-acceptance and find that ability to tap into your own inner voice. Tuesday, we have Mercury opposite Lilith. So Lilith is kind of a similar like shadow underbelly energy as like Scorpio or Pluto, in that she represents the parts of ourselves that maybe society has told us is not appropriate. If you think of the mythology of Lilith, she was told that she wasn't appropriate. And so she was kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And there's definitely this element whenever Lilith is in play of being like, okay, what have people told me about myself that were wrong or bad, that now that I'm kind of like grown and can see the whole picture of things and can see their own limiting beliefs and their own wounds of the people that were telling me those things, I can now accept of myself. And because it's opposite another planet, the planet of Mercury, it's again kind of echoing our Mercury square Pluto from the day before, and that like it's not the day to really talk about these things. You don't want to go to your second grade teacher and confront them about telling you that you shouldn't want to be a poet. Like that's not what this day is about. It's about the internal integration. It's about really looking at the things and examining the things that were told to you that you weren't allowed to want or be, and then healing that within yourself. I really like inner child work for this type of stuff. So again, lots of meditation stuff that I talk about is visual. If you're not a visual person, I've been trying to speak to that more lately because I have a student that has said that they're not a visual person in meditation. You can also translate this as a feeling of what would this feel like. But I like to do a meditation where whatever age group you were in, when you identify these aspects of yourself that were kind of denied by the outside world or pushed away or shunned or like quieted down, picture yourself at that age. Or maybe even like if you're not a visual person, maybe get a picture of yourself at that age and set the photo in front of you. And imagine either the actual like visualization of yourself being there in front of you so that you can give yourself a hug, that the adult you can give your childhood self a hug. Or if you're working with a photo and you're less of like a visualizer, you can imagine sending love from your heart to their heart and just unconditional love and acceptance from you now to you in the past. And time is a construct. So like we're sending energy back into the past, but like it can be felt, it can transform all the energy that comes after that when you do this work. It can also be really good to cut cords to any of these limiting beliefs or people that didn't believe in you. Just picture the energy kind of connected to you in some point in your body. Sometimes you can actually feel where the energy is connected and take a sword, scissors, unhook yourself, whatever you need to do, or just ask your guides, your spirits, because it is a very spiritual week, like angels, guides, whatever you believe in, like ask that all cords that are connected to limiting beliefs from your past to be disconnected. And that's the work that we're doing on Monday and Tuesday. It's a very internal work on this reintegration and this self-acceptance. It's not about confronting the outside world for giving us these limiting beliefs. It's about releasing those connections and integrating ourselves and accepting ourselves and sending ourselves love for the things that we've denied ourselves for so long. Tuesday's card is the Ten of Wands reversed. So this does really give me an element of like calling in sort of like a spiritual help, because the Ten of Wands normally is you're carrying too many burdens and you need to ask for help. Ten of Wands reversed is that help is already here. And yes, sure, you might have people in your life that are willing to help you. And if they're there and they're present, that's great. But because the communication's a little bit off on Monday and Tuesday, I wouldn't necessarily lean on reaching out for help just yet. Like, please, please, please ask for help whenever you need it. But if you want the communication to come through clearly, this might be a day that you're asking help from your spiritual posse, as my friend Nicolette used to say. So your spirit posse is always there for you to help carry the burdens, to lift the weight off your shoulders. And that can be whatever you want it to be. It can be angels, fairies, guides, like the spirit of David Bowie, like lifting the weight of the universe off your shoulders, like whatever you want to attach it to. And sometimes just giving yourself a fun connection to something that feels outside of you can be helpful in this releasing of the burdens. So it could be a fictional character that you always admired, that you want to like picture as like your guardian angel or what have you, and let them carry some loads for you. But picturing it being carried by someone other than yourself is really helpful. And sometimes just giving the ask out into the world, out into the universe out loud is going to help you release some of the weight that you've been carrying. So moving from Tuesday into Wednesday. Wednesday's astrology is the sun sextile the North Node. And I'm going to talk about the card as well because I feel like they go really well together. The card is the Judgment card reversed. So Judgment card upright is sort of a rebirth, like a phoenix rising from the ashes energy. Reversed, I'm getting an element of like the rebirth is kind of already done. And the sun sextile the North Node is just helping us pull towards our true north. Because if you're new around here, the North Node is sort of like your karmic path or guidance in this lifetime. It's stuff that's not often comfortable for you because it's not something you've lived several different lives doing. The South Node is things that you've lived several different lives doing, and the North Node is the opposite of that energy. And you're being called to move towards something new, something different, and integrate new elements that you haven't lived for many lifetimes. But it's also like your karmic purpose in this life. So we're taking this energy of sort of like this karmic rebirth that's already happened, and it's happened internally. And we're letting the sun shine a light on our path forward towards really cementing this new karma for this lifetime and our new goals for this lifetime. And new is in new this lifetime. Like you may already have these goals and it's just, again, it's all new. It's stuff that you maybe don't gravitate towards as much because it does make you feel out of your element. But that is that whole meme of like outside of your comfort zone is where it all happens. So that's what the sun is kind of pushing us towards, but gently, because sextiles are a very gentle, sweet energy of like just giving a little bit of support towards that transition. And again, we're being reminded that we've already rose from the ashes. We've already kind of transformed our karma and we're ready to move towards this goal, even if it feels a little scary and a little soon. It's a start before you're ready energy on Wednesday. On Thursday, we have Jupiter square the North Node. So again, we have the North Node in play, but squares are a little bit of tension, and it's happening earlier in the morning at 6:35 a.m. Central Time in America. So luck is not as much on our side for moving towards our goals on Thursday. So I would say if you're going to get something done in regards to goals and transformation and moving towards your karma this lifetime, do it on Wednesday. And then Thursday is kind of like a pause. It's a time to kind of like take a step back and reevaluate this path or the things that you've accomplished this far. And we also fittingly, with a square in the astrology, have the Four of Pentacles, which is normally seen as a square in a lot of tarot cards, but it's reversed. So we're breaking out of our box that we've boxed ourselves in on, but we have to like first recognize the box. So I think Thursday might get a little uncomfortable because we're recognizing the limiting beliefs, the limiting patterns, the bad habits that we've formed trying to keep us in our comfort zone. And we're being encouraged to break free of that box. So I think that Wednesday, we're recognizing the path forward. And Thursday, we're realizing some of the stuff we're doing preventing us from moving that direction. And with it reversed, it's a good sign because we do have the ability to turn these patterns on their head. So if you have any addictive patterns, whether it be around actual substances or social media or even a relationship, Thursday is a really good day to take a good hard look at those things and ask yourself how these habits and patterns are holding you back from fulfilling your true potential, which is your North Node. Friday, we get a little break of the astrology. Thank goodness. And we also kind of get a little break from the energy of the outside world because our card is the Five of Wands, which is usually a pretty chaotic energy, but it's reversed. So we're letting go of this sort of like competitive nature that maybe we've had. And honestly, we've probably had this competitive nature based on this sort of shadow stuff that we've been working on in the beginning of the week. We've been told that we're not allowed to be or do or have things in our world. And so it's felt like people that are being and doing and having those things are our competition or our enemies or what have you. And I think by integrating our own shadows and accepting our own shadows, we're no longer feeling like the outside world has something that we can't have. Like there's no longer those feelings of jealousy and competition because you know that you're just as capable of possessing what everyone else has, because when you see something that you're jealous or envious of, you now know, hey, that's a sign that I can integrate that. I can be that too. And rather than pushing all the energy towards that person and feeling like animosity towards them, I'm going to now take what I see in them that I'm so jealous of, and I'm going to ask myself how I can become it. Because then there's no longer a sense of jealousy because you already have that thing. You already are that thing. You have everything that you see in the outside world that you want to be yours through that integration and that acceptance. And it does take conquering those shadow beliefs that you're not allowed to be those things and kind of taking it back to the source of like, who told you that you couldn't do that or you couldn't be that? And disconnecting from those cords and again, integrating, healing that inner child and letting yourself move into the energy of being the fullest expression of yourself, including the things that you see in the outside world that you feel envious of. But again, it's a good sign because this card is it's flipped over. So we're recognizing that. That is the result of all the work this week. And I think that's also why it came up in a quiet astrology day, in that like, if you do all the work on especially Monday, Tuesday, but even Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to see that you feel less triggered by the outside world. You feel less envious of the outside world. You feel less triggered by other people's comments because you're secure within yourself and it doesn't matter what the outside world believes. And you're free. That's the best word that I have to describe this day is if you do the work throughout the week, Friday, you're going to feel a sense of freedom. Moving into Saturday, we have Uranus Cazimi, which means that the planet of Uranus is lining right up conjunct with the sun. So the sun is shining light on the elements of that planet. Uranus is the change maker, the innovator, the transformer. It's related to the Aquarius sign. So Aquarius is about like creating change and rebelling against the conventions and doing something differently. So whatever in your life needs to be done differently is going to be highlighted on Saturday. And it's really supporting the energy of changing, transforming, and innovating things and doing things in a different way. We also have very late in the day Mercury square Mars. So communication can get a little dicey because Mars is very combative energy. Mercury is a communication planet. They're square one another, so they're kind of fighting. The biggest thing that I have for this is like Saturday to Sunday, and actually most of this week, communication's not its easiest. So I would be really mindful of really doing a lot of inner work this week rather than trying to communicate with the outside world just yet. Might be a good week to do some journaling because you might find that there are some elements, some ideas, some epiphanies that you have that you do want to communicate later, but I'm not saying don't if it feels right to your intuition, because Scorpio is going to be giving us that full moon intuition highlight. Go ahead and follow your intuition. But if you're uncertain about it, it might be a good week to put a pause on communicating things and really just do self-reflection. It is later in the evening though, so I wouldn't let that really worry you most of the day on Saturday. It might bleed over into Sunday, and that you don't necessarily want to have difficult, combative conversations with someone, especially about all of this inner work that you're doing. It's kind of that feeling of like, you don't want to talk about a really great idea until you're really solid in it, because like you might get feedback from the outside world that like doesn't support it, and then you're going to kind of take the air out of your sails. And that's what's happening with this healing that we're doing this week. Like we might get really excited about it and want to tell someone, and they might take the air out of our sails a little bit. So it's just going to be really cautious about who you're talking to these things about. The card for Saturday is the Wheel of Fortune, and it's upright, which is usually a sign that our luck is changing for the better. We're going into a good luck cycle on the wheel. So again, allow yourself to make change and transformation. The only way to get from the bottom of the wheel to the top of the wheel is to keep moving forward. And to move forward, in this case with Uranus Cazimi, we need to do things in a different way. So whatever habits that you found out on, what day was it that we were changing our habits? Whatever habits and addictions you found out weren't serving you, it's now time to move forward. I think it was Thursday that we were evaluating the things that aren't serving us. So this is a good day to start changing those habits, transforming those ways that you're doing things. And it could be as simple as like, if you don't have a physical movement practice and your body's been feeling like lackluster, and I don't mean in like a physical appearance wise thing, but like internally, if you don't have energy for the things that you want to do or the path that you want to be on, you might want to just start like giving yourself gentle movement and having that practice of like tapping into your body in a physical way. Or if your eating habits have been mostly fast food and packaged foods, and you want to like add some fresh vegetables in, like it could be simple things like that that are going to put you on a path of feeling better in your body and then having more energy to follow the path that you're meant to. Okay, moving into Sunday, we have Jupiter sextile Chiron. So I told you it's all about integration and shadow stuff. Chiron is our wounded healer. Jupiter is a luck planet. Sextiles are good signs. They're supportive energy. So we do end the week in this little like kiss of luck for our healing. So if you haven't already felt it throughout the week as you're doing this integration, I think on Sunday you're going to get a little kiss of luck from the universe, and you might even get like a lucky reward for all the healing that you've been doing. It does come through with the 7 of Cups reversed, which means that there are options, but we're getting ready to choose an option in this case. So 7 of Cups upright is like, just let yourself daydream. You don't have to make any choices just yet. Like just follow the path of the daydreams and like let yourself envision all of these different futures. By the way, if you're new here, burp usually means that there's a big transformation of energy. So I think a lot of us have been in this daydreaming phase, not sure what we want to pick for quite some time. And this reverse energy on Sunday is going to highlight something. It's like one of these cups lights up all of a sudden. And that is our kiss of luck from the universe for all of the healing that we're doing. Jupiter is like, your wounded healer feels less wounded. Let me show you a little hint of which one you need next. And the great thing about the Seven of Cups is choosing one of them doesn't mean that the rest of them go away. It means that you just choose the one that's the closest to what your energy and your alignment is in this moment so that you can keep moving forward in a way that's productive. And you're not going to choose something that you haven't healed enough to be able to accomplish. So that's what's happening on Sunday. We're getting a little kiss of luck and maybe a little bit of like a hint of the next action, the next dream to follow. I know I'm looking forward to that because I would love to have a hint of the dream to follow next. So hopefully this has been presented in a way that makes you feel less burdened. But again, know that self-care is paramount during this week because we are doing a lot of work on ourselves, a lot of healing. So if you need to return to the meditation that we did at the beginning to kind of breathe through things or call back your energy and cleanse yourself, feel free. If you want a little bit of help with cleansing energy and cleansing limiting beliefs, I have 2 different options for you within my business, and we'll get to the personal reading after this. I have a Become Your Own Healer course. So I don't do a lot of promos in these readings, but I have something, well, actually I have 2 options. I have Become Your Own Healer and I have a 21-day chakra cleanse. Both of them involve a 21-day chakra cleanse where energy healing is sent to you for the course of 21 days and it transforms every single one of your chakras. It goes through each one for 3 days at a time, and it turns over all your limiting beliefs. It turns over all the insecurities they don't even realize that you've been carrying around. Anything that's been holding you back from your fullest potential in every single chakra's energy gets turned over and moved out. I like to compare it to whenever you're like sweeping the bottom of a pool and it stirs up a bunch of dirt and then the filter sucks it out. That's what this cleanse is. So if you're interested in actually becoming a healer, a Reiki healer and an intuitive magic creator, Become Your Own Healer is your best option. There is an in-person Become Your Own Healer happening in Chicago on the 23rd and the 30th. And that info will be on my website and I'll also link it below. If you're not in the Chicago area and you want to do an online version, you're in luck because that one happens every single month. And you can sign up anytime, but the attunement and the 21-day cleanse starts on the first Friday of every month. If you're like, I don't really want to be a healer, I don't want to learn how to give Reiki or any of that stuff, but a 21-day chakra cleanse sounds like a great option. I have something called the Rainbow Brightening Cleanse, which is where I've taken just the 21-day cleanse portion of Become Your Own Healer, and I've packaged it into a single webpage with a little chakra cheat sheet and some meditations for each of your stages of the 21-day cleanse. And when you sign up for that, you literally within 24 hours get set the energy for this cleanse, and then you have like a whole page of little clickable links that you can go in and you can figure out what's going to happen as that chakra is being cleansed. You have a welcome letter of me explaining the entirety of the cleanse, and you have some meditations that you can do while you're being cleansed. So if any of that resonates with you, down below. Again, it's really helpful. My first chakra cleanse, I do them all the time, but my first one really helped me turn over childhood and teenage insecurities that I didn't even realize that I had. And that's a big portion of these sort of like shadow integrations, is sort of healing those, especially teenage, but even childhood aspects of ourselves that we weren't as accepting of who we are. So with all of that in mind, we're going to dive into our personalized reading. If you have watched this far, there's a sign that even if you don't win this reading, you might want to stick around just because there might be something here for you. But I do a randomized drawing online with a little generator every week, and it's anyone who is a paid Substack subscriber. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, you're probably watching it as a Substack. If you want to upgrade to paid, it's only $5 a month. It enters you into every single week's drawing. If you're not ready for that commitment and you want to just give a one-time donation of anything more than a dollar or more, you will be entered into that week's reading. Or that week's drawing. So you can either tip $1 or more right now and be entered into next week's drawing, or you can go ahead and become a paid subscriber for $5 a month and you'll be entered into every reading drawing until you cancel. So with that in mind, we did do a drawing, and our reader, again, we have a smaller pool, so we do get repeat winners. Our winner is Holly. So fitting, because Holly is a Taurus and we are still in Taurus season. So a little belated birthday reading for Holly. And if you want to stick around, there might be a message for you, even if you're not Holly, because we are all part of a collective and we're dealing with similar energy at any given time. I'm being called to pull out a different deck, which I haven't been doing in the recent times. I've been just using the same deck that we use the days. So Lioness Oracle deck. Interesting that I'm getting like a pull of like, oh, that's Leo energy. And I do know that Holly does have some prominent Leo energy in her life. So there is an element of maybe that being relative to this reading. But we are just going in with a general past, present, future reading. I'm going to let the cards dictate what area of the life we're actually talking about. And we're tapping into Holly's energy, but also letting it be supportive advice for anyone else that chooses to watch this reading. And I trust that you're following your intuition. And if you're still watching, there is a reason for that. So nothing's wanting to jump out, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Oh, and now we've got some big jumpers. By the way, our weekly reading had huge jumper energy. Like all the cards wanted to fall out. But for Holly's reading, we have two cards that jumped out, and I'm going to pull the top card for the next one. For the recent past, we have the Five of Swords. Five of Swords indicates there's sort of a limiting belief mindset that's coming in, and kind of a self-sabotage mindset. I'm going to take a sip of tea because I'm getting a little dry. Because the Five of Swords is really just us kind of beating ourselves up, getting on our own case, being a little too hard on ourselves. So that's a recent past energy for Holly and anyone else listening. The card that came after that, the present energy, is the Magician. So I love this transformation because we're going from a place of sort of beating ourselves up for not being enough to recognizing that we are enough, because the Magician has all the tools that they need. They have the pentacles, they have the swords, they have the wands, and they have the cups. So they have magic and intuition and creativity. They have money and abundance and grounded support. They have intellect, and they have like passion. And all of these things are at play. And they're a reminder that all of these things are kind of in your back pocket that you can pull out at any time. So there is an element of this week, especially because this reading is the present as of the week of this reading, being a week of integration of all the tools that you've accomplished and integrated and achieved throughout your lifetime. And I think that shadow work and that healing, that inner child integration is really going to help you to realize that you have more tools to your advantage, to your accessibility, than you think you do. The final card, our future, is the Lovers. So this is indicating that this integration of self is not only going to literally integrate the self, because that's what the Lovers is internally. It's like us integrating our divine feminine and divine masculine energy, but us opening up to more unconditional love from the outside world because of that integration. Because the more that we recognize and love ourselves unconditionally, the more the outside world can't help but see that and reflect that energy back to us. So there's a feeling here of really, I think that the biggest message that's coming forward in regards to our weekly reading that's relevant for this reading is that integration of people, romantic partners from your past, from your present, that you admired for X, Y, and Z reasons. And I would even recommend a little assignment here to do a list of all your previous partners and what attracted you to them. Because even if you ended up not really enjoying their presence by the end of the relationship, there was something that drew you in. There was something about them, some quality or several qualities that you were like, ooh, I need that person closer to me. And that's the secret that unlocks what you are integrating. And it may look different than that person did it. Like they may, like, I don't know, like the thing that's coming forward is if they were like super strong and masculine and like just really buff, then like it may not necessarily mean that you need to get like super jacked and buff in the same degree that they were, but it could mean that you're wanting to feel strong within yourself, whether it be physically or emotionally or spiritually. And P.S., sometimes those work in tandem with one another. If we're trying to feel more strong internally, we sometimes can be helping that along by building strength externally, by starting to do like even just a minor weightlifting or a morning exercise routine. This is coming forward for a lot of people this week, like something about exercise. And I know that I can relate to this. I've recently started reintegrating a more intense morning exercise routine, and I'm really feeling the shifts in my energy and my awareness of where to go next with my not just my body, but with my creative practices and my business. So the more that I get in touch with the physical form, the more that everything else starts to become louder as well. So that might be something that's coming forward for someone. But it also, again, is just make that list, list at least one thing, but maybe 2 or 3 things that drew you into previous partners. And then ask yourself, what is my version of this? And how can I make more of this part of my life so that I feel complete and whole in myself? And then any partners that are in my life with me are simply there as a good companion and not as a sense of completion and wholeness. I'm going to check underneath the deck to see what's underneath, just that out of curiosity. We have the Queen of Wands reversed. So there is an element of turning your spirituality on a little bit higher, turning the volume up on your spiritual practice could be really helpful in the transformation that's happening this week, of recognizing that you have all the tools that you need and integrating all the things that you want within yourself that you might have seen in the outside world. And also maybe list with those list of lovers, also do a couple people that you envy or feel jealous of. I don't think this person feels jealous of people, but things that you see that you're like, oh, I wish I could be that person. What is it about them that you want to be? And then figure out how to be it, how to be your version of it. But turning up your spiritual practice is going to be really key here. So if you don't have a meditation practice, meditation could be good. If you work with tarot cards, that could help you kind of unlock some of the things that you're working on. And I'm getting a feeling that I want to pull you a total Betty goddess as well, because I do feel like there is a little bit of a divine feminine energy wanting to come in to help you with this transformation and make you feel more powerful. So I think whatever goddess wants to come out here is actually kind of like an internal reflection of your highest potential is the intention that I'm setting here. So not only is this goddess there to kind of help support you as part of your spirit posse that we were talking about earlier, but they are also here to be sort of the highest version of yourself and an example, a role model for who you could potentially be. So the goddess we got is Minerva. It's played by Angelina Jolie in the movie Hackers. The energy I'm getting off of this card is really skillful communication. That's usually what she's kind of ruling over. I put her in the deck as sort of like the feminine version of like a Mercury energy. So technology is also a huge part of it, obviously, because that's why she's the movie's hacker, a character for the movie Hackers. But I think specifically we're getting an energy of really trying to embody your communication skill set and recognizing that you're a better communicator than you think you are, and to really let that be part of your tools as the magician. That would be the swords energy, and communicate things very clearly. I feel like there's something else that wants to come forward here. Minerva's also about education, like higher education and knowledge. So don't be afraid as you're making this list of things that you want to be more of. Don't think that it has to be something that you do completely on your own. Like it could be something that you seek out, like a class or a mentor. But the key is letting yourself do the steps to integrate the things. So don't let yourself seek out a mentor that you can just sit at the feet of and feel like you've now got some of their energy. It's you still have to use them as an example and figure out how to integrate it. But there is a feeling of Minerva could be coming in to be it's okay to need to learn how to integrate these things. And it could be as simple as maybe someone that you admired was really handy with power tools. I don't know why that's coming forward, but as that is the metaphor that's coming forward, if that's the case, maybe you need to watch some YouTube tutorials to be good with power tools so that you don't feel like you need to have someone around that's good with power tools. There's different forms of education is what I'm saying. It could be a really, really advanced education thing that you're going towards, or it could be watching a YouTube video that's going to help you to integrate these things and demystify something that felt really sort of magical about a past partner or about someone who you admired. Okay. I hope that served you well, Holly. I hope that served anyone else that's sticking around. And actually, we had a totally bitty goddess that was stuck in the bottom of the box. So I'm kind of curious who that was. It's Cassandra, who is an intuitive goddess. So again, we come back to that feeling of the Scorpio full moon is about us being really in touch with our intuition and trusting that intuition. Thank you for everyone that's watching. Thank you 1,000 times for everyone that's financially supporting these readings. And again, if you want to be part of next week's drawing, you can become a paid subscriber or you can tip your reader in the links below. If you're not watching this, actually, I'll have links below on YouTube as well. So Substack or YouTube. But if you are watching this on YouTube, feel free to head over to Substack and subscribe so you get email alerts on these readings every week. Have a good and magical Scorpio full moon.